Welcome back into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Gel, Viernes. Once again, Gel, happy Friday.
What is that?
To you.
Is that 3 of the last 4 weeks?
I think so.
Feels
this
like
is
it,
a
at least.
first time we have live streamed twice in 1 week. We're coming at you on Thursday due to our scheduling this week, but nonetheless, get you 2 pods out. Have a fun episode for you today.
Thirsty Thursday.
Yes, Thirsty Thursday indeed. Got my nice drink right here.
Sour?
So. Yes, this is a smoothie sour. So this is the one I was talking about last week. It's out of Portland, Oregon. One of the ones that the gentleman at the place my wife went to out in Lake Tahoe had recommended. A solid 4-pack, so 6%er of so the smoothies are like a puree of like fruits and stuff that are mixed into it, and it's a tart apple or tart ale with strawberry, blueberry, lemon, marshmallow. So
ooh,
yeah,
that sounds
really solid,
orgasmic. Honestly, that sounds very delightful.
Yes. Gonna have just a little bit of NFL news in regards to playoff matchup and a streaming service that's going to be having that game. And then it's an MLB episode for the most part. Going to give you a little weekly recap, our big takeaways from the past week or storylines, and then way too early trades. We're about 2.5 months out from the trade deadline right now. So Jill and I are going to tell you which guys could be on the move and maybe to what destination. But
there are, there's the teams that are sellers, the teams that are probably going to be buyers already. I mean, yes, we're only a month and a half into the season, but we know that the Rays are going to be there at the end. I mean, we know that. So we know that, as mentioned in last week's episode, the White Sox, like, they're not going anywhere anytime fast. I believe they've got half the wins that they do losses. So generally, generally not great,
not
Bob.
Ideal. Not at all. Gonna kick it off with the question of the day today.
Before you get going on this new question of the day, our last question of the day was a barbecue topic, and that got me going. I went out last night, I went to the grocery store, got myself a rack of ribs, got myself some steakhouse potato salad, got myself some grilling beans, some baked beans. The Bush's steakhouse recipe grilling beans, best baked beans out there, in my opinion. Hashtag not a sponsor, but my go-to baked bean. So that's going to be that'll be on the menu for the weekend for me. I'm that conversation got me going.
That sounds amazing.
I can't wait.
Yeah, this time I actually do have time to maybe catch a flight down there as opposed to
rather than same day, same night.
Yes. Question of the day today. This is a topic that is near and dear to our heart, Jill, that we haven't talked about in quite some time. And I want to talk a little college football. There's been a lot of rumors this last week about, conference realignment again. There's been rumors of Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, possibly wanting to jump ship over to the Big 12. And then Clemson, Florida State, Miami wanting out of the ACC deal so that they can presumably jump over to the SEC. That ACC media rights deal, I know they've got lawyers looking through it right now to see if there's any possible outs, and it's pretty hard, I guess, to get out of. At least that's what we're hearing.
Isn't that deal through 2036? Okay, I knew it was mid-30s, which is insane.
There's been other rumors of the Big Ten vetting Washington and Oregon in case those other 4 Pac-12 teams jump to the Big 12. It's been rumored that the Big Ten doesn't want to, I guess, which is funny because they're one of the ones that stole 2 teams already, but they don't want to be the, nail in the coffin to the Pac-12 and are waiting for some other teams to jump out before they go in and swoop up those 2 teams. But I guess 2 questions here. One, what are your initial thoughts, I guess, with all of these rumors going down? And 2, once the dust settles on this, what do you eventually see with this? Is there still going to be a Pac-12 and ACC? What teams might we see move into different conferences?
Well, I mean, once the realignment started, I kind of felt like, look, this isn't going to be the end of it. I mean, we had seen some realignment in the past with it's kind of, West Virginia moving from the Big East to the Big 12, which that still feels weird to me, given that
Right.
they're not in the South. Like that kind of feels weird to me, but it's like when those types of moves start happening and Nebraska jumping into the Big 10 for presumably money, I still don't get why the Big 10 went after Rutgers. Like they went after Rutgers, who has never been relevant whatsoever. I guess they wanted that New York, New Jersey market, but nobody freaking cares about Rutgers. And they've like all those Jersey, New York fans, they've got Syracuse, they've got St. John's, they've like pretty much any team other than Rutgers is relevant. Like they're the least relevant team out in that North New York area. So I never really understood that. I still don't. I mean, Syracuse and St. John's are the basketball schools that own that state. And Rutgers has never been relevant outside of maybe that one season that in football when they had Ray Rice. Like that's it. I don't know of any other relevant Rutgers football teams. So, and they've never been relevant in basketball. So I never really understood taking them on. And then the Big Ten also grabbing Nebraska, who is 45 years or so out of their prime. Like
It feels like it at least.
Like,
jeez.
Oh my God. I don't know, whatever. That's what's crazy is that's a long time ago. But now with the alignment of, Texas, Oklahoma moving to the SEC, it's like, okay, that's feels like kind of, the additional stab in the wound for the Big 12. Now, if they are able to get some schools like in Arizona State over there, at least that's something, but for numbers, I guess, but obviously those schools don't have the relevancy that a Texas and Oklahoma do have. As far as the Big Ten goes, I kind of, once they stole that LA market, grabbing USC, UCLA, what's left of the Pac-12? I mean, at this point, I kind of felt like eventually it's eventually going to happen where Washington and Oregon, I think they do end up in the Big Ten. How quickly? I don't know why they're scared about being the nail in the coffin for the Pac-12. Like the SEC is like, fuck it. Let's go get Florida State. Let's go get Miami. Let's corner this Florida market. And what was it? Florida State, Miami, Clemson, you said were the 3 ACC teams. So you'd assume they end up jumping ship, to the SEC, like you said. I don't know why the Big Ten's going to be scared to do it. But that kind of seems like the Midwest way, bunch of nice guys up in the Midwest, and we don't want to, ruffle any feathers. Well, you already kind of did with USC, UCLA. I mean, that's the base of the Pac-12 is that LA market. And so if you take away the home base of the Pac-12, why not just continue and go, and why be scared about breaking up and putting the nail in the coffin in that conference? Because you already kind of did. You built the grave, you placed the coffin there. So,
and you went behind their back too, because they had made that so-called alliance with the Pac-12 and the ACC.
That's right. Texas, I forgot about that.
To the SEC. And then a couple months later, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're taking USC. UCLA. Have fun.
It's going to be interesting with the former Big Ten commissioner who didn't he get a job with some professional league? Was it the MLB? He's not the CEO, but he's way, way up the ladder for the Bears. He's going to be in charge of their new project to potentially move the team out to that Arlington Park area and away from Soldier Field. So you wonder, I guess, how this next commissioner is going to handle this transition for the Big Ten. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this is already kind of worked out. It's obviously is already worked out with UCLA, USC. And is this new commissioner brand new to the conference? Does he maybe he wants to build up his reputation, and that's why he's like, hey, I don't want to put the dirt on this grave that has already been built. So maybe that's the reason why. But at the same time, if you're a new commissioner, you can be like, don't fuck with me. I'm stealing more of your teams from the Pac-12.
Right.
Don't try to screw me over. You saw what I did by putting the nail in the coffin. So maybe he's not going for the power play, or he's clearly not going for the power play here, which I guess is kind of refreshing. I always liked having the conferences that were aligned by region. I just kind of, it made college sports different than professional sports, but now that with how much money is in college sports, it doesn't surprise me that each of, the two power conferences, being the SEC and the Big Ten, are going gold mining here and trying to get as much cash as they can. But am I in favor of it? Not really. I'm excited for some of the matchups. I will say that, but Pac-12 at night. That's one of the cool, I love Pac-12 at night when I'm just, I get back, back from a buddy's place or back from a bar, and I get back at 11:30 or something. And hey, Pac-12 football is still on for another hour and a half. That's awesome.
Or just kicking off sometimes.
Or just kicking off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I guess I'm going to miss. And usually they're shitty teams. Usually it's like an Arizona State, Washington State kind of a game or something. But then you got to wonder, is Fresno State, do they jump into the Pac-12 if the Pac-12 is going to even remain a conference? I mean, you kind of think they're going to do whatever they can to stay afloat. But a lot of moving parts, obviously, that I think started really, there was some small realignment going on. And then once Texas and Oklahoma jump ship to the SEC, it's like, okay, now it's on, party time.
Yeah. No, I agree completely with you on that. I think eventually you are going to see Washington and Oregon jumping into the Big Ten conference. It just kind of seems inevitable at this point. And I'm curious if that does happen, what happens with some of those other big programs that are in that Pac-12 and what they end up doing. What happens to a Washington State and Oregon State, a Stanford, which not super relevant in the sports world. I mean, they have been at times, but not perennial powerhouses, at least for the major sports of football, basketball. But we'll see what ends up happening with them. That Pac-12, I mean, San Diego State's coming in once UCLA, USC move out. But I mean, does Boise State jump into that conference? I mean, who else do they try and add? There really isn't anyone else to add that's going to take or bring anything.
Colorado State
table.
Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
They're garbage.
Gonzaga basketball and just not have a football team. But
that's actually probably a good play for at least for the basketball side.
Yeah. But as far as the SEC too, I think it's a matter of time with that. And I think those schools are going to do everything that they possibly can to try and get them out. I don't know what happens too. I mean, it almost feels like you need a fourth school out of that grouping to maybe jump to the SEC.
Why?
Just for the numbers wise, because when Texas and Oklahoma come in, they have an even number. And if three teams go in, you're going to have an odd number. And then once it gets into conference play, I guess just rotate a bye or something. But
I don't know. I wouldn't be too worried about that. About the even odd number thing. I mean,
yeah,
the Big Ten had 11 teams for a long time.
Yeah.
Before Rutgers and Nebraska were added on. And then it was 13. So what's the Big Ten at right now? Isn't it 13 teams right now?
14. I think there's 7 in each.
Who am I missing here?
Because on our side, it's Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Nebraska. And then on the other side, both Michigan teams.
Oh, I'm thinking of Maryland. Maryland is the one that I'm missing. So that's so Rutgers, Maryland, Nebraska made it 14, but they rocked 11 teams for the longest time. And I don't think it was a big deal. So I'm not worried about the even odd number. Maybe you have one extra team in the East to try to make the East a little bit more competitive, because it's been the West for the most part that has dominated that conference between, I guess mostly Alabama, LSU, and Florida's obviously had their down years. Georgia has been obviously amazing the last couple, but it was a long stretch where the West was, including Auburn too, The West dominated the East. So maybe when you bring in a Clemson, Miami, Florida State, that may balance things out a little bit and keep those guys in the East. You send over Vanderbilt, Tennessee to the West and, kind of may balance things out a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. We saw the super conference thing coming. Once
time.
Texas and OU moved over, it's like, okay, it's coming. But and then it wasn't long after that USC, UCLA were announced coming to the Big Ten. So,
yeah. Well, the Big Ten had to make a move because otherwise, if you waited for another conference to do it, then we're talking totally different about what's the future of the Big Ten right now, and they might be on the chopping block. So they made their move. And I like too that you had said it's always fun to turn on that Pac-12 after dark, but it'll just now essentially be the Big Ten after dark. So, and we'll actually have some relevant matchups that are meaningful with us both being Badger fans. You can tune into a game that starts at 9:00, 9:30 our time that has implications on where we're going to end up in the standings. So makes it a little bit more meaningful, but at the same time too, though, it is nice just to kind of shut your brain off and watch some football and just enjoy it too, and not have to worry about, I need this team to lose so the Badgers move up the standings. And
it'll be interesting to see how Fox handles this. If they're going to do the big noon kickoff, which is a noon Eastern time kickoff, 11 Central, that means us 9 a.m. kickoff for USC, UCLA. If they're in the big noon kickoff, like they're going to have to figure out a way to navigate that.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work for anybody's
ideal.
body clock, including fans.
No, not at all. Although solid time to have bloody and watch the game. That's for sure.
That's right.
We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Go to YouTube, Dead Arm Sports, into that search bar, subscribe there, click the bell. That way you know when our live episodes drop. If you're subscribed, you know that we had a bonus live episode this week. So make sure you go and subscribe there. We can be found on our socials at Dead Arm Sports. If you want to follow Gel, he can be found at DasGel. That's at DASJEL. I can be found at DasJPEC. That's at DASJPEC. Give all three of those a follow. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot, and we will swag you up with some Dead Arm Sports goodies. So we got news coming out of NFL this week that Peacock is going to exclusively stream one of the playoff games in the playoff round or the wild card round of the playoffs, not the playoff round. But I'm just kind of sick of this, Joe. I don't know how you feel about this. It's kind of like how we always get pissed off when we're tuning into MLB and find out it's on Apple TV Plus, like the one game. And it's just like, I don't want to have to go and I'm assuming it's probably going to be the purchase Peacock, or maybe it'll be in the free version of it, which then that's not bad. You just download the app. I haven't looked into it a ton, but I'm just kind of sick of it. I get it's more revenue for the NFL. You've got streaming services and stations bidding for these games, and obviously you want to make the most money you can with it, but it's just getting so inconvenient when you have to go and try and figure out where to watch games at. It's too confusing. Just leave it how it is. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it. Not sure if you're the same way. I know you are for the MLB portion.
And yeah, I mean, I don't have Apple TV Plus, so what now? I just can't watch the game. I'm not gonna subscribe to Apple TV so I can catch the occasional Brewers Friday night game. Like, right. I assume that's what Apple TV is going for when they make this deal. Like, hey, we might be able to get some more subscribers for Apple TV Plus that'll stay around for, they'll find value in, okay, not only am I getting all of Apple TV Plus's content, but also now I can catch these MLB games as like an extra bonus. That's the deal that I assume Peacock is making. They are, for this one game, they're giving the NFL $110 million. It's a one game, $110 million deal.
That's insane.
Are they going to be able to make that up? I mean, are you, I don't know if you're a current Peacock subscriber. I'm not. Nope. Are you going? So it's a Saturday. I believe it's one of the Saturday games in that wild card round. I don't know if it's the night game. If it's like the early afternoon game. I don't know. But are you going to go out there and subscribe to Peacock for this, or maybe see if you can score a 30-day subscription and then cancel it after the game? That's probably what I'm going to try to do. But are you going to subscribe to Peacock just for this one game? And then, I mean, let's be honest, we've all subscribed to stuff before and then thinking, okay, we've got this 30 days. I'm going to take advantage of it for this month. And then you forget. And it's like the next bill comes and you're like, I got another 30 days. I already paid for the next 30 days. Might as well keep it. And then I'll just cancel after that. And then you never do. I think that's probably what Peacock must be banking on here. But are you going to be subscribing to Peacock for this one NFL game here? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to make up $110 million if you're thinking about it from a business standpoint like that. Or is it just, hey, this is just more of it's almost like an ad. It's a promotion more than anything. So I guess it depends how you want to look at it, but I don't know. I mean, if I can't watch this for free, I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to subscribe. I'm not going to do any of that shit. If a buddy already has Peacock, I'll go to his place or her place, or I don't know. The other thing to question in this is like, how do bars handle this? Like, how are they going to be able to play this game? Because you go to a place, pretty much any sports bar, and if there's a place with 20 TVs, do they have to buy like a business membership that's going to cost them however much, X amount per TV, kind of like how they have to do it for pay-per-view for UFC and boxing fights. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're already on Amazon Prime for the Thursday night games, which I think most people in the country probably have Prime. They might not know how to use Prime Video, but you probably have a Prime subscription.
Yeah.
You got Sunday Ticket going to YouTube TV this upcoming season. Now you've got a playoff game on Peacock. Like, is the NFL taking this too far? I know, again, it's let's make our money where we can, but this can't be in the best interest in terms of long-term growth of the game. And that's where Fox, NBC, CBS, ESPN, ABC, they've been staples in our lives since we were born and became football fans. And that's what helped really grow this game and grow the sport and make it a sport that you can't go without during your fall and winter weekends. The harder you make it, though, to watch these games, the less viewers you're going to get. And eventually that's how things die off. So my thoughts are that the NFL is probably taking this a little bit too far, going for the quick money grab. But is that in the best interest of the game as a whole? I would say probably not.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And I think, like you said, I think Peacock's probably doing this more for advertisement. The only possible way I could see subscribing to it if I couldn't get a free trial is if the Bears are playing, or I'm sure you probably might if the Packers were playing. That's probably the only situation. But
right.
Again, I'd probably look to say, oh, is there a bar showing the game? Does my buddy have it? I can just pop over there. Like that would be first before I actually went and subscribed to something and have to pay for one game that I'm not going to use the rest of the streaming service. And I like that you brought up the NFL, just kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent here, the NFL Sunday Ticket moving over to YouTube TV.
Last night, during that Heat Celtics game,
I saw that on Twitter that
I got screwed. It was like the last minute of the game and just shut down. I kept seeing replays of this Little Mermaid commercial. And I'm like, what's going on with I restarted my Fire Stick. I did whatever I could and, rewound, changed channels, came back. Every other channel worked just fine. And I'm like, this is the end of the game in a playoff game, in an Eastern Conference Finals game. Like, if is YouTube TV having an issue here with too many people watching one channel at once, and that's why it shut down? Because if that's the case, good luck with NFL Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
Like you're just screwed there. Everybody is just screwed at that point. That like this is a risky move, man.
Yeah.
I don't know where you were going on that. Sorry to interrupt, but I just had a personal fuckery last night with YouTube TV.
No, I was gonna bring that up afterwards, but where I was kind of going with it is I'm curious to see like what a place like Buffalo Wild Wings #not a sponsor or your local bar that had NFL Sunday Ticket prior through Direct TV because that was the only way to do it before. What they're gonna end up doing? Are they now subscribing to YouTube TV where now they don't necessarily have to go through a TV provider anymore, where they just have to pay for their internet and now they have YouTube TV everywhere, where then it's more likely that they're like, oh, well, we can just download Peacock here and stream the game, or have Peacock for, I think, Premier League are on there for the English Premier League.
Yeah, the Saturday morning or Sunday mornings, Sunday morning EPL.
So maybe they see that as a benefit where that they might actually be happy about it because now they have more options other than, oh, well, we just paid for a shit ton for Direct TV and the Sunday Ticket. I don't want to download other streaming services that people might want to watch. And now maybe they have more opportunity. But again, like you said, if we're all relying on internet and streaming, that's a scary thing because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for something to go wrong there and some big plays to be missed.
And I mean, the only thing that would get in the way of that satellite dish was weather. You could have the entire population of the world running off of a satellite dish and have no issues unless there's weather in the area. Where if we're talking about there's too many users on one server, like that's when shit can hit the fan. So it'll be interesting. The one thing that I do, or I guess the next thing that I fear, and this is just me doing a little forward thinking. I think we're talking about a pay-per-view Super Bowl coming up and not too long from now. I'm not saying it's going to be in the next year, 2 years, but 5 years down the road, now that you've got streaming, I mean, who knows how far they're going to take this? It's already streaming Amazon. It's already streaming Sunday Ticket. Now they're streaming playoff games next year. It wouldn't shock me if there's a like ESPN Plus exclusive is going to be one of these playoff games. At some point, you're going to be talking about a pay-per-view Super Bowl. And I don't know what that's going to look like, because if I'm sitting at home and it's like a $200 pay-per-view, if you're hosting a Super Bowl party and you've got 20 people there, hey, everybody chip in $10, when you're coming over, whatever. It is what it is. $10, whatever. But if you're new to a city, you don't have anywhere to go, or you're on the road, you're traveling for work, and the only option is pay $200 for this pay-per-view, like, okay, now you're going to miss the Super Bowl, and I'm not paying $200 to watch the Super Bowl. So I just think that's going to be the next thing coming. I don't know the price tag. 200 might be steep. Maybe they go $89.99, whatever. But the way that this is going, when we're talking about going to paid subscriptions for Amazon, YouTube, Peacock, possibly an ESPN Plus, what's going to stop them from taking that quick money grab and going for a pay-per-view Super Bowl? I don't know. It'll be weird if you got a pay-per-view Super Bowl with ads, I guess. That's kind of the whole point of the pay-per-view piece. But this is one of those things that wouldn't shock me if in the next 5 to 10 years, we might be looking at a $100 bill for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, that would absolutely suck. And I'd be curious to see how much their viewership goes down. But again, if you're collecting money for it,
this is clearly just a quick money grab. 110 million to the NFL. What is that? What is that? I mean, if they spread that out to these 32 teams, 110 million, you're talking about a couple million per team. It's like, it's not that much, or per, to the team owners, it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. What, you're going to use that extra $3.5 million so you can do renovate like a few rows in your stadium? Like, it's not that much money. So I guess I'm curious as to why the NFL even went for that. I mean, I feel like viewership is more valuable to them than this $110 million.
Hey, $2 million could definitely help out the Oakland A's from keeping the possums out of the booth. So that could go a ways.
You never know how
teams.
brutal that infestation is, I guess.
Right. But the A's are going to move into MLB here and just going to kind of spitball some of the topics back and forth here. And want to talk about a team that is in the Oakland A's division. And that is a team that you kind of gave me a little bit of crap for in my predictions earlier on in the season, Gel. So I wanted to toot my own horn here and talk about Texas Rangers' hot start right now, off to a 26-17 start.
Yeah, I guess we'll stay off. If you're going to toot your own horn, let's not talk Mariners.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go that direction right now. Although they are climbing above 500 right now.
They had a little bit of
a
comeback.
A little bit better. Yep. Dallas Garcia, 13 home runs, 46 RBIs, team batting average of 266 right now, and 21 quality starts from their starters. So they're all over, firing on all cylinders right now. Pitching staff, batting's been pretty decent right now, and they're ahead of Houston in the standings. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to hold up. I think Houston probably in the long run is going to be one of the teams that ends up winning that division, but Texas can hold on right now. They're looking at a wild card spot possibly.
And they're doing this without DeGrom right now, which God, yeah, this is so funny. They signed him to that 5-year deal. Yeah. They signed DeGrom to that 5-year deal. And I think all of us were like, shaking our head, like, really? Like, he hasn't pitched a complete season without a pretty significant injury in years, and you're gonna give him 5? Like, I know all my coworkers down here in Texas were like, we like having him, but we like 5 years. I guess it's not, it's like the way you got to look at it as a fan for baseball is, hey, it's not my money. But if that's one of those right. contracts that ends up, preventing them from signing future players, that's and Texas isn't really a small market. I mean, this owner has been paying big money or making big money contracts for over these last couple of years. I mean, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, obviously DeGrom. So this owner is willing to spend the cash along with creating or building that new stadium. But as long as that doesn't prevent them, that DeGrom contract doesn't prevent them from making future moves, I guess, whatever. But it's still just like, God, you're stuck now with this guy that, how many starts is he going to make a year? Is he going to make 10 starts for you a year? Is he going to be available for the postseason? And you have to build your entire rotation around him. So if you go into the next season thinking, hey, we got an ace, we got DeGrom. Okay, well, so you're starting off with the 2-starter. That's your best pitcher for a lot of the year. Once he went on that IL with the elbow inflammation, or I think that's what it was. They're like, oh, sure, we'll put him on the 15-day and he'll be back. Well, once he was ready to come off that 15-day DL, they extended his absence for another 2 to 3 weeks. So again, not a shock for anybody that's been following DeGrom's career over these last few years. Yes, dominant when pitching, but not pitching enough. But nice surprise. Happy to see it. Seager hasn't even been playing, and he's been hurt. So it's I like what I'm seeing out of the Rangers. It's finally the first little bit of hope that I feel like they've had since 2014-ish, maybe. Back with like the Nelson Cruz days.
Yeah. Was it Josh Hamilton?
Hambone.
Your buddies have to be pretty excited too down in Dallas. They actually have a sports team this time of year to cheer for that's doing halfway decent.
It's rare. I mean, there's nothing exciting for there's nothing for Aggie fans to be excited about. Normally they'd be like, oh, spring game. Like, yeah, it's like, no, that team's still going to underperform as always. So they got the Rangers. They got it's all stars right now down here for sure.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. I guess let's turn it back. We were talking about the A's briefly. They have officially signed a contract for a stadium in Las Vegas to be built on the Strip. I think that's an absolute great move. If you had to, where the Brewers Stadium is located. It's like off a highway. You can't really get there from downtown without hopping in an Uber.
You're not
like
walking there.
It's not like Wrigley where you can just walk up, like you're just hanging out in the area and shit stadium. So that, like, I think them putting it on the Strip is a great move. I mean, I don't know how many fans are going to be drawn daily there, but that's why they kept this to a 30,000 seat capacity stadium. I thought that's a great move. It's, you won't see the tarps over the top over the top rows like you do at the current what is it called? O.co Coliseum or whatever.
Yeah, that's changed
whatever
names
it's
so
called.
many times.
I mean, nobody wants to sponsor that piece of shit.
Right.
But I think that the biggest move that they them to Vegas, it's inevitable. The biggest, most positive move they've made is by putting it on the Strip so people can just walk to the game. Hey, you want to go to an A's game? I got nothing else to do today. Like, I've already gambled away all my money. Like, let's go get some $15 tickets and have some beers. Like
$15 tickets and $20 beers. Good combo.
Exactly. I was thinking about what that seventh inning stretch is going to look like in Vegas, if they're going to have any in-house entertainment from
Doubtful.
some of the higher end clubs there. That might be a little interesting.
No, I like the move. Again, it's one of those, I hate seeing teams change locations. I was disappointed when the Chargers left San Diego.
Me too.
Hated when the Expos left for Washington. I like seeing teams where they started stick there and go through it. But Oakland, that market has just crashed so much. We saw that with the Raiders. We saw that, well, the Raiders, obviously, they wanted a new stadium and had a whole ordeal with that. And that's why they ended up in Las Vegas. And the A's now tried to work out different things on the riverfront in Oakland or the Bay in Oakland to try and get a new stadium there, and just isn't happening. So I don't blame them. You're hardly getting any fans in the stadium. They have to be just burning money like crazy because you're not bringing in that revenue. So I'm totally fine with this move. Yes, it's really smart to have that on the Strip. I think it's pretty close to where the Knights play, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's somewhat close to that. The Knights are pretty close to the Strip as well. So, I mean, why not? That's right in the hustle and bustle of everything in Vegas.
It's again, I think like it's across the street from MGM.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a money spot. Yeah.
Like you said, even if you're going to have fans, obviously, that want to go to the games and are diehards, but you're also going to have those people that are in town and like, hey, there's a baseball game, just like you said. Let's just grab tickets, go in. I like that it's 30,000. Then you're not worried about, are we, like you said, having to put tarps up? Or are we not going to have a full house? Really intimate experience. Seats are probably going to be pretty awesome with only 30,000 in there. Every seat's going to be a good seat. So that's another selling point, that maybe you can have your minimum ticket price be a little bit higher than normal because of that. And the demand, if they're decent, ticket demand is going to go up for that as well. So it's smart. And I like it. And
yeah,
I'll be curious to see when this happens.
I mean, ticket demand in Oakland can't be any less. The other day against the Diamondbacks, they had an in-person attendance of 2,064.
Great chance at a foul ball.
I mean, you might have to run a freaking marathon to go get it, but like 2,000, I don't know if I've ever seen a total that low, even when the Rays were completely irrelevant. And like, I've never seen something as low as almost under 2,000 fans, less than 2,100 fans there. Insane.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a freaking awesome move.
Yep. I want to talk about another team kind not necessarily similar to the A's as far as stadium, but similar in the fact that they just haven't been good in a while, and that's the Kansas City Royals. I feel terrible for Royals fans because Kansas City is a cool place. It's the stadium's pretty cool from what I've heard. Know people that have gone to the game said it's pretty sweet stadium to catch a game at. There isn't really a bad seat in the house at all, but outside of that 2015 World Series, they just haven't been very relevant at all. I mean, you had that one year, and again, a small market team like Kansas City, that's what they went for. They got that World Series in 2015 and then just haven't been relevant since. They've had players come up and had guys leave, like an Eric Hosmer. They have Salvador Perez there behind center or behind catcher position right now. But what
at the center position?
How do we make Kansas City relevant again? I know, again, they're a small market team, so you can't be spending big or anything like that, but it's hard to see a team like that just not be relevant at all. I mean, they're sitting at 14-31 right now in May. I mean, their season's done. This has just kind of been a repeat thing for the last 7 years since that World Series.
Well, and the previous, probably 15 since maybe those like George Brett teams.
Yeah.
Which obviously, look at any George Brett highlights when you've got grainy video, it's a long time ago. So,
yeah.
And I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is really all they've got. Like that guy is legit. I mean, he's going to be with this new, he's already going to be going for 30 steals. If he can continue to develop that power, you might be seeing a 30-30 player in terms of 30 jacks, 30 steals a game or a season and a game. That'd be nice. So you might be seeing that out of him, but outside of Bobby Witt, what do you have there? I mean, Perez is old. Yeah. I'm honestly kind of surprised he's still behind the plate. Like
right.
he's getting up there quick. I mean, I guess kind of like a Yadier Molina type, but no, it's not like their farm system. Yeah, it's kind of nice, but they've had a few guys come up that haven't really panned out like they thought. And
that's what they rely on too.
That's
a small 100%. Market team is you have to have your prospects come up and they all have to be hitting their kind of stride and prime all at once in order for them to even make a run.
And they've tried to make some moves for, kind of middle of the road, like B-level players, signing them to 1-2 year deals. And, I think they kind of did the old Cubs strategy under Theo when they signed, what was the guy that they sent over to the O's? Scott Feldman, traded him over to the O's, got themselves Jake Arrieta out of it because Feldman was looking nice that season. Like that's the kind of
Pedro Strop.
And Pedro Strop. God, Wildcard is ultimate Wildcard. He could be dialed in so hard or just a complete disaster, throwing balls into the stands and shit. But I think the Royals have kind of tried to do that, but these guys that they brought in, they haven't really fetched much in terms of, hey, we're going to be a seller and try to score on some prospects. That they haven't really been able to sell these guys off very well. And I think it's because, dude, I could be a B-level player for the Royals, or I could be a B-level player for like the Giants or, pretty much any other team. It's like, why would you rather go to the Royals knowing that you're going to be traded mid-season to a contender, or just sign with the contender from the start?
Right. Sign with a team that you actually have a chance to win a World Series, whether you're like an everyday starter or not, but you still get that ring at the end of the day, which
still get the ring.
You're not having with the Royals.
So I don't know, man. It's sad to see because it's Bobby Witt and nothing else out there. I mean, Whit Merrifield, I don't even know where he's at. Is he still there? Like
he's in Toronto. Is he in Toronto?
He might, dude. I don't know. He might be. But it's too bad because I really liked those couple of years when the Royals were competitive and making those 2 years when they made the World Series. That was sweet, man. And they got their ring, but it's like this is kind of one of those tales where it's, especially for these small market teams, strike while the
Toronto's where
iron
he's
is
at.
hot, because this has been the frustrating part with the Brewers. It's like them not just going balls to the walls to go get that one title, because after this season, I mean, we assume Corbin Burns is gone. Who knows what the future of this team's going to be with, at least on the pitching staff, with Woodruff, who's nice, but he's been hurt this season. Freddie Peralta has some really nice games, has some other games where he's out in the fourth inning after he gave up five earned. So that's been the frustrating part about being a Brewers fan and being a small market team, that to not just go balls to the walls to try to get a title. The Royals did that and they won a title. They made 2 World Series. They won a title. I'm sure they're happy to take that, with in between a sandwich of, you've got the 1990s as one end of your bread. You've got 2025 as the other end of the bread. And in the middle, you've got a title and 2 World Series appearances. I think that you take that sandwich if you're a Royals fan, because you did get that title and the other World Series appearance. So that's just what pisses me off as a Brewers fan, but whatever. Speaking of midseason trades, you want to dive into a couple of options here, the couple of proposals we have cooked up over the last few days?
Yeah, for sure. So I've got more so just guys that I think might be dealt in a team that they could end up at. Don't really have the names of like necessarily people coming back. I can let you know on like prospects, but one, I'm going to start with that White Sox fire sale, Joe, and I think it's time for them to move on from some of these guys. And I've got Dylan Cease going to the Padres for some prospects. The Padres right now are flirting with that the NL West. They're a few games out of first and out of a wild card spot right now, a couple games below 500. That pitching staff has just been kind of non-existent right now. Their starters are all 4 out of their 5 starters have above a 3.56 ERA, and 3 out of those 5 are above 4. So they need all the help they can get right now. I think Dylan Cease right now is just kind of a product of a lackluster offense, giving him some run support. So I like Dylan Cease going over there. He's still got 2 years left after this of arbitration. So you can get some fine prospects from the Padres coming back to the White Sox. Yes, the White Sox were involved in a notable trade involving Fernando Tatis Jr. to the Padres. So they might not necessarily want to trade with the Padres, as they got the short end of the stick there. But I think that could be a possible trade destination for Dylan Cease.
Yeah, I mean, Tatis wasn't, good Lord. I mean, that sucks to not have. But no, I mean, I think that makes sense. Dylan Cease needs to get out of that organization. He's way too good of a pitcher. I believe last year he had like a 2.2 ERA, something in that area.
Yeah.
So he's legit. He's not, and what I kind of like about him is he's not one of these flamethrowers. He can hang in the low 90s, and he's obviously not saying he's Greg Maddux or anything, but he's kind of that Greg Maddux type where hangs in the, low mid 90s for his fastball, but he's just pinpoint accuracy and finds ways to get outs. And that's ultimately what you need. And a lot of times also, to add on to that, that's how these pitchers stay healthier longer. That's how you are able to use them deeper than the 5th, 6th inning. Like, I mean, we saw Cease finish multiple games last season, or go 8 multiple games last season, probably in a loss, but
more than likely.
But he's legit, and the Padres are a nice fit, so I'm into that. Sticking with the theme of the White Sox fire sale, Lucas Giolito, he's on his final year of his contract, and Yohan Moncada signed through 2025. Going to the Texas Rangers. Now, this is an in division trade. You don't see those very often, but if the return is strong enough, I think it's doable. That return I'm looking at is the 58th overall, MLB.com's 58th overall prospect, a middle infielder, and the 80th overall prospect, a right-handed pitcher, and then throw in another low-level prospect. They got to go for it. They've got to pick up another starting pitcher, not knowing the status of Jake DeGrom. And Yoan Moncada could slide into that third base role pretty easily. You'd have a really nice infield there with Nate Lau at first, Marcus Semien at second, Corey Seager at short, and then Yoan Moncada at third. Makes that infield a lot more dangerous, and you get a little bit of additional starting pitching depth. We've seen Lucas Giolito be really strong when he's on and when he's motivated. He's having a down year. These last 2 seasons, his ERA has ballooned a little bit, but we've seen when he needs to be good and when he's motivated, and he can be pretty dialed in. So I think that would be a great fit. And again, you're getting 2 really nice prospects back from the Rangers. Rangers obviously want to be competing this year, given that they have a really legitimate chance to win this division. I think that you can go ahead and sell off a couple top prospects for a starting pitcher that you need that can be elite at times, plus Yoan Moncada, who, again, another one of those players who didn't really live up to his prospect name, but still a starting third baseman in this league.
No, that'd be a nice haul for the Texas Rangers. And like you said, I like the way that infield would shake out a lot with Yoan Moncada going to third base there. And again, I think Lucas Giolito, like a lot of the guys you see that get traded at the deadline, they're either hot or teams think that a change of scenery would do well for them. And that's what I think is the category Lucas Giolito falls into, or he could just benefit from a change of scenery, get thrown into a team that's in the playoff hunt, fighting to make the playoffs. And I think he'd benefit quite a bit. I'm glad you brought up the Rangers, Joe, because I have Aroldis Chapman going there. Texas has only got 9 saves on the season right now. They could definitely use a boost in the save category. And Aroldis Chapman's kind of bounced back a little bit this year. He's going to be a free agent after this year, so I think you could get him on the cheap. I don't think you're going to have to give away any top prospects in your farm system right now. And hey, one of the last times he was traded mid-season, ended up giving and helping the team win a World Series. So maybe the Texas Rangers look at that a little bit. Yes, that was
he's not the same pitcher that he was back then. But
not at all. But he's still relevant, where he still would be an upgrade to that closer position for them.
Or even if you or even throw him into like a setup role or something like that, rather than like, hey, we need you again, we need you to be the guy. And if you're not the guy, then we're all losing. So throw him into that setup role. I mean, adding additional bullpen depth, never a bad idea especially for a contending team like the Rangers. All right, let's talk blockbuster here. You want to talk Shohei Ohtani?
Oh, I got one on there with his name on it too. So
let's do a little head to head here. Shohei talk, who, by the way, just hit his 10th home run. Let's not forget that he also is an elite starting pitcher.
It's insane.
I don't get that. Guy's insane. He might be the best baseball player of all time, given what he can do on both sides of the plate. Insane. Shohei and Matt Moore, bullpen depth, lefty bullpen depth to the Rays for Francisco Mejia, a catcher, Manuel Margot, probably a 4th outfielder. But the keys in this trade, the Rays' top prospect and number 18 overall according to MLB.com, Taj Bradley, a right-handed pitcher, the 59th overall prospect, a shortstop, Carson Williams. Throw in another mid-level, lower-level guy, and then player to be named later type of a deal, and get yourself Shohei and go for it. It's only it'd be a rental piece, but dude, this is the best Rays team we've seen probably ever. And fuck it, man. You've got enough young studs on this team. These prospects might be, they're going to be a little bit less valuable when you've got a major league team that's just loaded with young players, young stars. Carson Williams, he's a shortstop. Wander Franco's not going anywhere. He's going to command that shortstop position for the next 10 years. I think he just signed an 8-year deal last season. So Carson Williams doesn't really have a spot at least as a shortstop on the major league team. The Rays are amazing, obviously, at developing pitching talent. So you can give up a high-end pitching prospect because you might be able to grab some random dude off the street, develop him into somebody that can be a number 1, number 2 starter. So I think, and then you obviously, you're giving up Francisco Mejia. He was looked at one point as one of the top catching prospects in the league. Manuel Margot, he's a 4th outfielder at this point, but the Angels, they get back 2 elite prospects. They get some outfield depth and they get some catching depth, possibly a starter on that team. So, and then just some additional, player to be named later, which a lot of times those guys end up being nice. I mean, Michael Brantley, he was in a trade that was a player to be named later out of the Brewer system. So these guys can really, in that CC Sabathia trade with the Indians. So these guys those players to be named later aren't always just scrubs, guys that are going to be in single A, double A for their entire career. Sometimes they can end up being studs. So I feel like I want to add additional if Shohei wasn't on his final year, you'd have to add way more to this trade, but it's a rental. So I think your top, 2 of your top prospects, if not the Rays' top 2 prospects, plus additional pieces, that should be enough to get Shohei. And if you're the Rays, go get him, man. This is now. Your time is now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Angels do end up dealing him because he's not going to re-sign there. So you might as well get some prospects. I know that they're holding out hope and don't really want to, but it just doesn't make sense. And I don't think you'd be doing your organization, you'd be doing them a disservice, not trading him away and getting some elite prospects coming back in. I've got Ohtani moving and I've got boring, but I've got him going to the crosstown team wearing Dodger blue to the Dodgers. I just think that the Dodgers are going to be one of those teams that are like, hey, we're going to be right up there to offer him whatever the heck he wants when he hits free agency. So let's just go and get him a few months early and just run away with the NL right now and just open up whoever you want another farm system. You can have them. We don't really care. We're buying our team anyways. We're just paying whoever we want to and bring in Shohei. We'll send you back whatever you want. And we're going to show Shohei that, hey, it's awesome being a Dodger and you got a nice trial run with us for 2 months. And now we're going to sign you long-term and you'll stay in LA for your whole career.
I think it's inevitable that he becomes a Dodger at some point. They're just going to pony up the it's going to be a Dodger
Yankees,
probably
Red
Dodger
Sox.
Yankees type of a battle. I mean, I don't know about the Red Sox. I'd question the Red Sox management a ton at this point. You wonder if the Cubs are going to be in the mix for Shohei, but I don't know. Doesn't it feel like the Dodgers are just going to be like 10 years, $500 million. Let's just do it. I feel like that's just what's going to happen. So I think that's inevitable. I don't know if they'll make that move at the deadline, but I didn't realize they had such a strong record, 28-16. Mm-hmm. That's freaking nice. So good for the Dodgers. I think he ends up a Dodger at some point. Who knows if it's at the deadline, but no, I mean that makes sense for the move for them to, at that point, they easily go in as the NL favorites to make the World Series at the least. I've got another kind of lower level trade. This is kind of boring. I was hoping I could find some more blockbuster ideas, but Cincinnati sending Will Myers and Alexis Diaz, their closer, the Cincinnati Reds closer, to the Phillies. Phillies have been trying to solve this closer issue forever, basically. I mean, they signed Craig Kimbrell, who's been bad. Shocker. You as a Cubs fan would understand that experience. Well,
hey, we traded him at the right time.
Yeah, I was gonna actually. Yeah. Good point. Got some nice pieces back. Peacock Armstrong and who's that other?
No, Crow wasn't. We ended up getting
who's that second baseman
Nick
that you just signed?
Nick Madrigal is the one that we got back for
He's
him, I think.
nice prospect. But then he went to the White Sox and just ate total crow. So, yeah, I mean, the Phillies have been trying to solve that closer spot, get additional reliever depth. I think you go grab Alexis Diaz. Reds aren't doing anything this year, and grab Will Myers as well. They kind of have a really weird outfield like deal right now. I mean, Will Myers has been on a lot of winning teams in the past, and nothing wrong with having enough, I wouldn't say obviously not elite, but nice additional piece for some additional outfield depth. And send back a couple, mid-level prospects. You don't have to blow up the farm system or anything like that, because the Phillies don't have much of a farm system. So send back a couple mid-level dudes and keep yourself relevant for this season.
Yeah, my last one is your club, Gel. Brewers making a little bit of a splash.
I like
here.
it. I was trying to think of a Brewers move, and I just never drew one up. So I'm happy to hear that you have one.
I don't know how likely this is or how much you would actually like it or not, but I have them kind of making a move. It seems inevitable they're going to win the division this year. I mean, there's not really anyone else that's really competing.
It's a bad division with how poor the Cardinals are.
Yep. So I have them making a trade, just some low-level prospects going over to the Giants, and Jock Peterson coming back. Give them a little bit of corner outfield depth and a little bit of a power bat in there. You can throw him into that DH role. So guy with the playoff experience, has obviously had numerous playoff runs with the Dodgers, World Series with the Atlanta Braves 2 years ago. So give them a little bit of more experience in the postseason in that clubhouse, and just another bat for them to throw into the lineup.
Absolutely love it. As long as you don't have to give up too much. I mean, where is he now?
He's in San Francisco. So,
and it looks like right now they're not going to compete. I mean, they're below 500 unless they really turn it around. I would be a big fan of that move, at least for, the final half of this season, given that, Garrett Mitchell, who was off to a screaming hot start in center field, out for the year with a shoulder issue. Otherwise, and then you're relying on Tyrone Taylor, he's a fourth outfielder, and Joey Wiemer, he can be a starter in the future, but he shouldn't be you're starting in the playoffs. He shouldn't be a starting outfielder yet. So, and then their next top outfield prospect, Sal Frelick, who's close to the majors, currently injured. So Jock Peterson would fit in great, especially in that Miller Park with that short porch in right field. I think imagine seeing some bombs at Miller Park from him. It's not too tough to reach the second deck out in right field there. We see that a lot. So that would be a ton of fun. I absolutely love it.
I like it. Any others? Otherwise, we will start.
The only other one I had was another small Phillies trade. Go get Mike Moustakas and Daniel Bard. Moose. Mike Moustakas, Daniel Bard, get some additional reliever help with Bard, and then Moose just to have, let's throw him in there at third base when Alec Boehm, if he ever falls apart again, which he did for a while in Philly. Yeah. So another low-level trade, but Philly's a couple small moves, but could be impactful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So those are some of our trade ideas. See if any of those come to fruition in a couple months here. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Go to YouTube, Dead Arm Sports, into the search bar, subscribe, click the bell there. That way you know when our episodes go live. We monitor the chat there. You can ask us any questions. Otherwise, hit us up on our socials at Dead Arm Sports, at DosGel, at DosJPack. Give us a follow on all three of those. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of your written review, and we will swag you up. What are those platforms, Joe?
Hit us up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review to whatever your chosen listening platform is, or all four if you're being generous. The written reviews help us in particular, helps us get up, increase that relevance a little bit more. So the written reviews are absolute gold in terms of expanding this podcast. Make sure to reach out to some of your friends if you enjoy it. Hit up your friends, family to see if they want to take a listen and especially any big golf fans, any big football fans, I think that they're going to find this to be entertaining. So find your football, find your golf friends, and let's help grow this brand a little bit. Make sure to find us on YouTube. Just search Dead Arm Sports. It should be the first thing that pops up at the top of your page. Subscribe there. Hit that bell to get your notifications. And we will. We love the listeners. We love the supporters, and let's continue to grow that.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. So yeah, definitely tell someone you know about the podcast, help us spread the word. Otherwise, everyone enjoy the PGA Championship. We will not talk about first round results at this point in time. Jill and I's picks are not doing so hot. So we'll talk about those next week when they rebound tomorrow and compete over the weekend. But until then, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Have a great weekend, and close her out, Jill.
Did you know that diarrhea is hereditary? It runs in your genes.